Sources are telling me Devontae Sanford is already being transported back to this area and then finally set to be released as early as tomorrow. The 23-year-old has been in prison since he was 14 years old after police said he had confessed to the murders of 4 people. The incredible part of this story is that 2 weeks after the 4 homicides on Runyon Street in Detroit, another man known as Vincent Smothers, a self-confessed hitman, admitted to numerous killings, including those 4 that sent Sanford to prison. Still, remarkably, it's taken this long for state police to examine what Detroit police did with the case all that time, and for the legal system to free the now 23-year-old. An emotional press conference with Devontae's attorney giving us more insight into what's just happened and the significance.
And this case puts it on full display about how things can happen, about how a 14-year-old child can be coerced into giving a false confession, and then how the courts are going to rely on that confession.
Marco Contreras has waited 20 years for this moment, a judge confirming what he knew all along.
If he is ordered released forthwith, he may leave from this courtroom.
It prompted celebrations for the now 41-year-old who spent half his life in jail for a crime he didn't commit, convicted of attempted murder on the word of a witness, cleared after law school students found holes in that case. After 32 years in prison, the outside is an unfamiliar place.
It's so space-aged now. You know,
and Andrew Wilson still can't quite believe he's free.
I haven't had movement like this. I haven't seen movement like this. You know, you don't, 32 years, it's being confined to an everyday program.
We spoke just hours after his release, a judge having thrown out his murder conviction. Family members, some of whom he'd never met, there for him. What was that moment like?
It scared me, you know, it scared me. But it was a good moment, it was a happy moment for me, you know, because I got a chance to not just sit and talk to him, but I had a chance to hug my loved ones and you know, tell them that I love them.
Andrew Wilson was convicted of a killing that took place here in South Central Los Angeles in October 1984. A 21-year-old man called Christopher Hansen was stabbed to death as he slept in his truck here. Andrew Wilson always said he had nothing to do with that murder.
An Alabama man who spent nearly 30 years on death row is free this morning. He was released after being granted a new trial. Shortly after leaving prison, his emotions ranged from relief to rage. Jerika Duncan has the story.
After spending more than half his life behind bars, Anthony Ray Hinton walked out of the Jefferson County Jail and into the arms of his family.
Oh, I love you so much.
30 years ago, the prosecution seemed deemed to take my life from me. They just didn't take me from my family, friends. They had every intention of executing me for something I didn't do.
Hinton was just 29 years old when he was sent to death row for the murders of fast food managers John Davidson and Thomas Vossen. At the time, a mistake by Hinton's lawyer left the defense unable to prove the gun found in his client's home was not linked to the crime. But with a new trial and new ballistics tests, prosecutors had no choice but to set him free.
I shouldn't have sit on death row 30 years. All they had to do was test the gun.
He said it's too hot, Paul. He tired.
Too hot? He tired? You tell that lazy jigaboo the state of Mississippi I ain't interested in his meteorological assessment.
Listen up, jigaboo. State of Mississippi ain't interested in your meteorological assessments.
You tell him the state of Mississippi is only interested in getting this here ditch cleared by sundown.
State of Mississippi wants this here ditch cleared by sundown. You got that, boy.
It's
Well, it's just been a lot of waiting and thinking of what I'm going to do, you know, my future, and, you know, just so I can get with my family again. I don't know, start a new life.
How do you get up every morning knowing that you're wrongly convicted?
You got to get up, you know what I mean? You know, you get up with God and your spirit. Yes. And you got to lead the way for you. You know, and that's how I've been living these last years. You know, I've just been keeping hope.
A former U.S. sailor was freed from prison in Virginia today, 33 years after he was convicted of murder and rape. Keith Harwood is now 60 years old. New DNA tests show he was innocent all along. Harwood wishes his parents were alive to see him free.
That's the worst part about this, is my parents. It killed them. It devastated them. I mean, at the trial, I mean, like my brother said, he's never seen my father cry. It broke his heart. And they knew. And I'll never get that back.
Our final story tonight is about Mary Jones. She's in her 70s, but she just began a new life. She was released from prison this week after serving more than 3 decades behind bars for a crime she didn't commit. Ben Tracy has her story.
He forced you?
Yes.
At gunpoint?
At gunpoint, yes.
And you felt like had you not driven that car, he would have killed you?
Yes.
In 1981, she was convicted of first-degree murder and given a life sentence.
Hi. How are you?
But Mary Jones's case was reopened with help from Laura Donaldson and other law students at the University of Southern California. They argued Jones had been abused by her boyfriend and forced into the crime. On Monday, a judge ordered her released, and Jones's family released their joy. Her daughter, Denitra, spoke outside the courthouse.
I'm excited. We got a lot of Mother Days to catch up on that are unconfined.
Okay, thank you.
Today, she took her mom to the DMV to get an ID card. Mary Jones is now 74.
A Philadelphia man sentenced to life in prison in 2009 for killing his friend is free this morning. Dante Patterson was exonerated yesterday after an extraordinary court motion from Philadelphia's district attorney. He asserted Patterson's conviction was, quote, an egregious example of police and prosecutorial misconduct.
What does this moment mean to you?
Well, I can thank God to be alive and thank the Innocent Project and the Innocent Commission for sticking by this case and making it really happen.
He's right here. Right here.
There's no question in my mind that part of justice was served today with his release, but it's a tragedy for him to be released after 37 years at 70 years old.
We was down with him, you know. We know he didn't do it.
Now to our top story this half hour, a 28-year wait for freedom. That is how long David McCallum spent in a New York prison for a murder he didn't commit.
McCallum called his release this week a bittersweet moment, and it's easy to understand why. Jerika Duncan has the story.
The last time 45-year-old David McCallum walked on this basketball court, he was 16 years old.
Looking at these guys, you know, I just knew that I could remember me, you know, being in the same situation. And just looking at these young people have really brought back a lot of fond memories and a lot of innocence, both literally and figuratively.
In 1986, McCallum and another teen, Willie Stuckey, were sentenced to 25 years to life for the kidnapping and murder of a 20-year-old man.
All right, then what happened after that?
The only evidence linking them to the crime was their videotaped confessions, which the boys claimed were fed to them by police.
I falsely confessed to a crime that I didn't commit.
Why did you do it?
I did it because I thought at that time my life was in danger.
For nearly 30 years, McCallum insisted he was innocent. On Wednesday, a judge agreed.